Welcome back to the Tech and Real Estate channel. I'm super excited to have Curtis, a house hacking expert who's been able to creatively live for free while building his real estate portfolio. From navigating his first multifamily deal during a tough market to living in a unique house hacking situation, Curtis has mastered the art of making real estate work in any situation. We'll explore his strategies for saving, investing, and scaling while managing properties. Let's get started. Hey, Curtis, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
I was really excited to have this conversation after we were on Mark's channel and got to do a live stream. You had a lot to offer in terms of knowledge, especially when it comes to the house hacking space. But before we touch that, would love to hear a little bit more first about your journey and how did you fall and come into real estate?
Yeah, so my journey actually began in 2020, is when I graduated college. My career, I thought I was going to go work in college athletics. Well, when COVID happened, we were all the interviews I'd lined up, they said, we don't know if sports are going to happen or not because of the virus and all that stuff. So I said, well, I know with teaching, I'll always have a job because I could teach online, we can do Zoom classes. So that's what I did. And if you think teachers don't get paid a lot, imagine being a part-time teacher, because that's what I was my first year. And I lived at home. Luckily, me and my mom have a great relationship, so she allowed me to stay there and live with her. So I saved for just over a year and a half, and then I had enough saved to have a down payment. Now, why did I start to look into like the real estate? It's because during that first year when I was a part-time teacher, I got to interact with a lot of the staff. Even though a lot of it was on Zoom, I could tell that a lot of them were looking towards what their retirement was. They were watching the stock market go up and down. And I said, "Oh boy, I don't know if I want that to be me. To have to work for 40 years and have to depend on timing the market with stocks." And then I thought about it, I was like, gosh, to have $1 million in stocks, I have to have $1 million saved up to put it in there. And so I just knew that wasn't going to work at the salary that I had at the time. So I was looking for other alternatives, to start a business that doesn't really work with the hours that I work. So I said, well, the only option is real estate.
Excellent. Yeah, I think your path follows what a lot of people initiate. Like they notice that, timing with stock options or how they're going to retire and tracking things, it becomes overwhelming. And then when you do look at those options, like maybe I can start up a business, you realize that usually businesses can't be passive and you have to really be active in them. So what was your like aha moment where you thought like, all right, like I want to do real estate and I want to go into the strategy of house hacking.
Well, I was listening to podcast and it's like, okay, well, in college I had roommates. Okay, that wasn't too bad. Like I could probably do that for another year. And then I was like, all right, so then and let me do that. And then hearing kind of all the different strategies, but just kind of that first initial like, oh, I've already done that, but instead of me paying Mark, my college a landlord, the money would be going to me. So for me, it was a really easy like mental shift.
Yeah, right. Like we grow up, we're living with our families, we're living with roommates, and then if we go to college, we're also typically living with roommates if we're dorming. But it's so fascinating how people like once that page, turns in the chapter, there's like, oh, like the thought of living with roommates, like that's so like foreign.
Mhm.
But I love that you took that mind frame, like, this isn't actually too bad. Like, I can go into this. So when you started to save for this house hack, I can imagine that it was probably a bit of a struggle. I mean, only 18 months or so of saving, you must have really scaled back. So how did you do that?
Well, it wasn't really a scale back. I just never scaled up. I just kind of kept the same budget, and um I kind of have a side hustle. I started it in college to kind of just have some fun money when I was in college, be it to go out or just have fun. And so I was like, okay, well, let me continue that side hustle. It's private football training. So I played in college, and so I work with kids on the weekend. So I was like, okay, I'm only going to use that cash to have fun or go out for food. And then I'm going to save as much as I possibly can for my teacher salary. And so that's kind of what I did. And I kind of made a game of it. I was like, okay, how much can I really save? So the goal was at least always half. Okay, always save at least half. And then if I could get more than that, that was a big win.
Excellent. So you really budgeted yourself. And I love that you used a side income that you had to be your measure of how much you could spend for discretionary items. Were you always a saver, or was this something that was a newer concept that you were developing?
Kind of always a saver. The way that we grew up, there wasn't a whole lot kind of like around us. We always had to be kind of mindful of money in general. So it wasn't that hard of an adjustment.
I'm wondering if, you're saving for 18 months, you're going to go into a house hack, you must live in some, market that's low cost to be able to do this. Is that true? Or are you in a higher tier market?
Not exactly true. Pierce County in Washington, just an hour south of Seattle, is not known for being cheap. Our average houses go for 400 to 500K.
I think that's always a misconception, right? Like you can only save up, do house hacking if you're, say, in like Cleveland or Detroit with house prices below like 150K. But could you explain a little bit with house hacking? Why is it that that strategy over, say, regular long-term rental, you're able to finance for a lower rate?
Yeah, it's because when you house hack, it's your primary residence. So you live in that property. So the financing products that are available are more friendly. So for my first house hack, I did a FHA loan, and you only have to put 3.5% down.
3.5% down. Now, for folks who are newbies, usually you have to put anywhere from 20 to 25% down if you're not living in the property, depending if it's single family or multifamily. So the fact that you kind of use this hack or strategy to be able to acquire a property for such a, heavier discount, not having to save as much, is a true win. And when you started to look at these properties for house hacking, were you looking at single family, multifamily? What was your sort of buy box?
So, because our price points are a little bit higher here, I knew the best strategy was going to be multifamily. And I knew the best strategy for me personally was if I could do multifamily and rent out an extra space on my side. Because I was like, let me try to live for as close to zero as possible.
No way. So you were doing like the ultimate house hack strategy where it's not just live in one unit, rent out the other on the side, but also the bedrooms within your particular unit that you were living in.
Yeah. Yeah, my first one was really extreme. There's a spectrum of house hacking, and I was on the really extreme side, to be very honest. When I tell folks that for a year I lived with no shower and no kitchen, they always give me kind of the side eye look.
No shower, no kitchen. How did you do it? Where were you? Yeah, how were you making food and stuff?
Yeah, so I obviously ate and I obviously did, right? So I kind of found a way. So while I did have roommates in college, I didn't really necessarily want those forced interactions with my tenant. So the unit I was occupying was 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bath. Well, I don't need all that space. I'm single. I don't have kids. I don't really need all that space. So the primary suite had its own exterior door. So I was able to seal off the primary suite from the rest of the house, and then I kind of gave myself like a studio.
Awesome.
And I had the half bath, which means no shower and also no kitchen. So to shower, I would shower at work, I'd shower at the gym, shower at my mom's, basically anywhere that I would go, there is a shower there, except at my house.
Oh my gosh, the struggle must have been real. How long did you do this for? The full like 1 year? Or did you go past that?
Yeah, so it was a full year, and then I was on my hunt for House Act 2, but that took time. So it probably was like 16 months.
Okay. And it had to have been that the cash flow was worth it, right?
Oh, yes, yes, because I was able to do the binder strategy, and that's where you actually get your tenants to ask you to raise in the rent. So that part was great. It's basically you to show the tenant comps for the area if they decided to move out. Because at the time my tenant was paying $990 for a two bed, one bath. Well, that was almost half of what the market rate was. So I kind of had the conversation with him because he was great. He paid on time. He communicated well, exactly what you would want from a tenant. But I didn't want to raise his rent to 1,800. Like that'd be a huge jump. Like that's not even right, right? So I kind of just had the conversation, and he wanted to go up to 1,500. So great. So with that, and then to rent out the two sides that I shared the wall with, it was able to cover all the mortgage and even some of the utilities. So I was basically uh, living for free.
Wow, living for free and likely helping you save for the next one even faster, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's how I was prepared and ready to go within the year. And then the extra 4 months was just extra in the reserves.
Excellent. So taking a step back, because I didn't know this, that you actually inherited tenants.
Yes.
Was it for both sides of the units?
No, it was just for the backside because I had to have him to help me qualify for the loan. Because when you go to qualify for a multifamily that you're going to live in, your lender can actually use the rents that are currently there to help qualify you.
Got it. Okay. Were you nervous at all when you were like, oh, I'm going to inherit tenants for my first property? Was that at all a barrier mentally you have to get over?
I was a little nervous at first because the guy was like twice my age. He's probably lived there as long as I've been alive. Like it just was kind of like weird for me personally at first. But then knowing and seeing kind of the evidence that they do pay rent, they do pay on time, that kind of helped ease it.
Yeah. So you like add the data points there to help you feel comfortable, but then you've also done research, right? Like for those who don't know, go to Dion Talks on YouTube. He has amazing content, including how to get your own tenants to ask for a raise for the rents, based on looking at market rentals. So I love that with both of those aspects, previous rent and how they've paid, as well as the strategy, you as a newbie were equipped as if you were like an experienced investor. So really great job on that front.
Yeah, and then I just had to make sure that when I went to go have the conversation that I just seemed as prepared as I actually was.
Good. Yeah. Did you have to like give yourself a pep talk to get ready and, start those conversations with people you've never met before?
I definitely practice. So I am a teacher, so I'm used to giving, talks and presentations, and sometimes they're not always the most comfortable. And so I was kind of used to it. So luckily, Dion is actually kind of in my area, and so I was able to kind of talk to him about it and kind of get a script. And I said, okay, this is kind of how I'm about to do it. The nice part is that wasn't the first time that we met. We had met during the inspection, and then we met once I purchased it. Because if you do the binder strategy, don't do it when you first buy the property. You always want to go to the tenant, have a nice interaction, say, hey, I'm the new owner. If you own this place, is there anything that you would want to have done? Typically, they never say, oh, redo the kitchen, because they know that's not the price is just too high, right? So his ask was very easy. I guess there was like a TV, like a satellite that fell off the edge, and every time the wind would blow, it would hit his his wall. Well, that was a really easy fix. I just had to pull it down, right? So now he's happy. He likes me, and then I gathered a couple more data points that he paid the next 2-3 months on time, and he communicated well still. Then I went ahead and did the binder once I knew that we were a good fit.
And did you do any other rehab projects for either the unit you were living in or the one on the side as you lived in it?
Yeah, so the one that I lived in, it was unexpected. So this got missed during the inspection, but the shower, it seemed kind of like soft around the floor. So I was like, oh, that's weird. That didn't show up on the inspection report, which was like just a couple of weeks ago. Well, when those people moved out and then I moved in, I was able to get a deeper look on what was actually like happening. The shower had no beams underneath it. It was just a floating shower, which that's not supposed to happen. So luckily, my uncles, they have a background in kind of like rehab work. And so instead of paying a contractor and having to deal with all that, I had some family help there. I just had to purchase the stuff to fix it.
Great. And that's one of the benefits of investing like in your backyard to start with. If you have the opportunity where, your lifestyle, it's you, maybe a partner, maybe one child, but the flexibility to like be able to move within your space and then move a year later, like house hacking really is truly one of the best strategies. Like you said, if you're a newbie, you're going out of state, it might be nerve-wracking to have some sort of fix that you don't know like who's the potential right contractor to help you with. But the fact that you were able to reach out within your network and being family, a bonus, must have made you feel at ease, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, it definitely put me at ease because while I have a pretty good understanding of like finance and dealing with tenants and kind of more of that financial and management side, the construction or rehab side is where I'm the least knowledgeable. And so to kind of have someone that I really know trust, like they were there as the day I was born, I'm like, okay, they're not going to steer me wrong here. Whereas you're right, if I went to like Ohio and I had to find out, I'm like, okay, can I trust these people? Are they telling me the right information? So starting at home is definitely kind of a hack if you have that help there.
Of course. And then one question I didn't get to ask you actually was how did you source this deal? Was this something that was on market? And if so, like how did you uh filter to make sure that you'd have like that access of like the separate entrance for the unit that you were going to live in?
Yeah, and so at the start of my journey, so I got this first one in 2022. I just looked on market. Redfin was my best friend. It was always blowing up my phone. I had every alert possible. I had all the keywords. I had ADU, Dadu, dupl. I had everything possible. So if anything would hit the market, it would go to my phone. And this one actually sat. It actually sat a little bit. It went out of contract once. And I said, oh, and let me and make an offer. And I actually made an offer on the house and they said no. So I said, okay, cool. And then I just kept on browsing and me and my agent were kind of bouncing around town. And then they called us back and like, hey, are you still interested? Which now knowing I wish I would have negotiated more down because I know that's a big sign that they want to sell, right? But we were able to get some concessions, which was helpful. But I actually didn't even know there was an extra door until I went and walked the property.
Wow. Yeah. And that's one of the things that like some folks, especially newbies, will look at images over and over again and say, okay, I can't see that there's a back door, like forget it. It's what I need. But sometimes it's worth doing that like tour if the property is like really close to your needs, because then there could be things that you discover that maybe aren't in the original photos.
Yeah, and sometimes the original photos are not in the correct order. So you can sometimes lose where you're at in the house. Like, okay, have I seen this door before? Haven't I seen the door? So if the agent's not good enough to take good pictures that kind of walk you through the house, it's sometimes worth you going to go walk it yourself.
Definitely. And also the flip side too. I wonder if you noticed this, Curtis, that some agents and property owners will like have these amazing photos for the property. It's bright, it's beautiful, and then you tour it and you're like, ooh, I think I'm a little bit misled.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure if they're using some AI system to make it look nicer in there or what they're doing, but I've definitely walked those through. I'm like, this cannot be the same place.
100%. So yeah, this is an amazing first deal. Honestly, one of the top ones that I've heard of, like doing house hacking, low cost strategy within your market, having that back door so you can still live in it, but have privacy. And I would hope that in your next deal, you actually had a shower. So let's talk about that follow-up deal.
Yeah, so the next deal is the current one that I'm in now, and huge life upgrade. I have a washer dryer, I have a shower, I have a kitchen. It's really too much for me to handle. I'm like, what do I even do with all this stuff? And so it's really nice. It's about maybe 9 miles away from my other one. It's in the same county, not same town. That's one of the ways that I diversify is I try to get my properties spread out a little bit. And this one I also found on Redfin. Um, though this one did not sit. They priced this one too low, and I knew right away that they priced it too low. And I actually had my agent. I remember because it was the week of the Super Bowl, and both my agent and my lender that I prefer to use. Now I'll use other ones. I'm not, against it, but my primary ones were in Vegas. And I said, "Oh my gosh, are these guys going to be able to get this deal done?" I know they're partying it up in Vegas, but I called them, and they did. We got an offer submitted the night it was listed.
Wow. And how did you know that it was below market value?
So I'm kind of a crazy person. I look at the market every day, in the morning and at night, and then sometimes during my planning period at work if I have extra time. And so, just seeing houses enough times and knowing kind of what comps are. When I saw a triplex that was listed for 465, which that never happens, I knew they mispriced it. And so I wanted to jump on it early as possible.
Excellent. And that's a really good point for those as well getting started or looking into a new market is that you should be checking if you're actively looking to invest. Check on a daily basis, see what's coming new in the market. And you didn't have to build some like crazy data science model to figure out, oh, it's below price. Like just intuitively, you were able to do that.
Yeah, because that's kind of what duplexes were going for, and so I was like, oh well. But I unfortunately did not get it locked in at that price. I was not the only one that was doing my homework. I was the first offer, but we kind of had to bid up a little bit and kind of had to play around with the numbers, but it actually worked out because of that postponement, because I wanted it kind of them to accept it over the weekend, but that's not how it happened. But because they strung it out maybe like a week or two, I actually got a lower interest rate at the time, and I was able to get some concessions too. So it kind of worked out in the end, even though I did have to pay more, but it kind of like worked out on my end.
Great. Yeah, it ended up evening out. And for someone who maybe has never experienced a bidding war, what was like your thought process through that? And was there a maximum price that you were willing to go at? Like, what were your conditions?
Yeah, so it wasn't really so much necessarily like a set purchase price. It was more what was more important to me was the monthly payment, because my plan was to continue to house hack. So the way that I run my numbers is that it has to cash flow even if I move out, because to cash flow when you live in a unit is very hard because you take up one of the spaces. But I run my numbers as when I move out, okay, do the numbers work? And I told my lender and my agent, hey, this is what I need the payment to be. All the other terms I'm pretty flexible with, like buying down the interest rate or what concessions. I'm pretty flexible there. I just need the payment to be this.
Great.
And and so just telling them what your need is and then staying firm on that.
Good. Yeah, I think it could, especially with house hacking, the line can be blurry at times of like be getting emotional versus like sticking with facts because you are going to be living in it. So it's really good that you had your metric in mind, which is cash flow, after you were to leave the property and you stuck with like, these are my parameters and I have to stay within it.
Yeah, yeah. And I told my a lender, I said, hey, pull any levers that you need to, just get the payment to this.
Yeah.
And my a lender guy who was great, he said, okay. And then he got to work. I don't know what matrix that he goes into. Numbers are flying by his head, but he makes it happen.
Excellent. And just curious, do you have like a percentage of expenses covered while you're living in the house hack that you aim for? Like you want 30% of the mortgage covered by the other unit, or is it like 70%, anything like that?
It's more of like, what do I want to pay out of pocket every month? Not necessarily like a percent. I was like, okay, I am gonna have a lifestyle upgrade here with the shower and kitchen and everything. So I'm willing to pay a little bit more than zero because you can't really beat that. And so I knew I was gonna pay some. So at first it's like, okay, well, if I pay under 1,000, then that'd be good. I'm really around I want to say like maybe 700-ish, just depending on the month because it includes um utilities. And so, but once I get a roommate, then I'll be living for free again. It's great.
Yeah. And that's how you really are able to save up for the next one, which is, I mean, you look across the country, some people are paying anywhere between $1,000 to $5,000 in rent. And via house hacking, you could really reduce that main expense to be able to like free yourself up for future investments and saving.
Yeah, when I talk to my friends and they tell me what they pay in rent and I go over there, it sometimes makes me sick. I'm like, listen, if you guys just save some money, you guys could be paying way less.
When you have your first two properties now, like tremendous job, I know there has to be some learning lessons, right? Because as a beginner, we can try to cross, all of our T's, but there's always one that maybe we overlooked. So what are some learning lessons that you've had?
So I learned about dog laws really quick in my journey. I am all for pets. I think people should be allowed to have their pets. I think they're part of the family, and that's awesome. That's great. I had a dog fight happen in my yard at my first house hack. The tenant that I inherited, his dog bit the other dog that I was leasing to and bit the owner. Luckily, all the furry pups are now okay. The human's finger is attached and is all is all good. But I was Googling the laws like crazy. I was like, okay, am I at all liable? Like, so luckily, here in Washington State, the landlord is not liable the first time and that happens. But you have to have the tenant either leave or they have to get rid of said dog that did the attack. And so that really took some weight off my shoulders because there for about 15 minutes, I was sweating bullets. But I just kind of had the conversation. We actually all met together, like after everyone was okay and they all went to the hospital and dogs were fine. The tenants and I actually met and we all kind of had like a roundtable talk and the tenants were really cool about it. The owner of the dog that did bite, he said, okay, I'll pay for it all. No problem. I'll get rid of the dog. I want to live here. Great. And it worked out great. Like it could have really went sideways, but because I think we came at it from like a really like humanity approach, kind approach, it all kind of worked out.
That's a crazy story, but
Yeah.
I wonder with your experience with teaching, do you feel like that's helped with some of the conflict resolution, like in this example?
Yeah, absolutely. So I teach sixth through eighth grade, that puberty stage. I think if I can handle some eighth grade girls in my class, I think my tenants are going to be a little bit more reasonable most of the time. And so it's just kind of been things like that. And when you come from a relationships side, I think things, even if I do make an error, because there's another time where I did make an error, totally like my fault. So I have a new tenant move in. Within a week, their washer and their dryer like stops working or whatever. I'm like, oh, okay. And what really stopped working was the hot water tank. And so I'm like, okay, I can fix a hot water tank. So I go in there, takes way too long. I'm like apologizing. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I'm just watching like some YouTube videos and trying to learn how to do it. But I get it. The hot water tank works. I get home. Oh, I'm so happy with myself. I'm like, I just saved thousands of dollars because I did it and myself. I'm happy. I'm the man. I forgot to rehook the washer dryer to the water tank. So the washer dryer didn't work. So I had to go back the next day and they could have been mad and upset with me, but because I just owned the mistake, I'm like, yeah, I didn't turn the thing or I didn't tighten it up. I just kind of owned it and we kind of laughed about it and I fixed it and we just moved on.
Wow. I think it's so funny that you tried to do it all on your own. And then right at the end, it was like that last step you
Right?
forgot. That's what happens. That's reality. This is being a landlord. And you said it best. It's about the humanity side as well. It's not just the numbers. It's not just things on a spreadsheet. It really is about being honest, tapping into what your tenants really need, and being able to resolve conflict when it happens.
Yeah, and I think some people when they house hack some people try to hide the fact that they're the owner, or that, I'm just the property manager, or and for some people that might work because they can't handle the conflict or the interesting conversations that can happen. But I think you owning it and just being honest actually can earn you kind of that trust points too. What's really important is that you set the expectation at the very first interaction. And so when they come for the tour, and everyone does tours a little bit differently, I do it open house style. And so from the very start, hey, I'm the owner. This is where I stay. I'm not going to bother you. You want to talk to me, just please text me. The only time you should call me is if there's fire, flood, or blood. That's the only time that you should call me. And I'm not going to call you, and this is going to work out great. And so I just kind of said it from the very, and everyone laughs when I say the fire, flood, or blood thing. And then we kind of just move on. And it's never been a thing where people come and knocking on my door. That's never happened.
Good. Yeah, it's good to know. And I love that you set the boundaries up front, and it's useful on both sides. So with that, Curtis, what's your next steps with real estate? What are you looking to do in the future as you expand your portfolio?
Yeah. So currently I'm trying to save for house hack and number three, trying to get the reserves up and enough for down payment. But in the meantime, I'm actually starting to really dig deep and learn about creative like financing. So that way, if possible, I can actually get a deal before a house. I can do a true like investment type of property without me having to live there.
That would be a great option. You can have your own backyard.
I know. I know.
Awesome. So with that, Curtis, do you have any sort of following right now where folks can learn more about your journey as you continue?
Yeah, some. And so you can follow me on Instagram or on YouTube at PE turned RE.
PE turn RE. We'll definitely follow you. And if you want to see Curtis in a future live stream where we go through house hacking analysis, please let us know in the comments below. But with that, Curtis, thank you so much for your time. Really enjoyed speaking with you.
Thank you.